Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We have a lot to get into, including the NHL. There's talk about the resumption of a season, or at least the start of a season. I forget what even month this is. We could have hockey starting in January. Maybe it's February. What's going to happen? We'll talk about that. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is going to be the Steelers, still undefeated, the only team in the NFL, yet not getting a lot of national respect, and other stuff. And here's your panel to talk about all of these topics. We have bottom left, it's Will Graves, who does outstanding work with the Associated Press, and I thought he had some COVID hair going, but it doesn't seem to be that way.
I'm trying to give Rich a run for his money, but I'm still way. This is junior varsity hair compared to Rich.
Rich doesn't move. It could be a 50-mile-an-hour windstorm. It doesn't move. Rich Walsh.
I think it looks nice.
The hair, it does. It never moves, though. You wake up, it's the same way. And down below, unfortunately, not much hair. But Colin Dunlap is here from the
hair, Bob? Looks good, right?
It does. It looks well. You wear it well. Just put it that way. All right, let's get right into this. And Colin, I'm going to start with you. And that is, the Steelers are 11-0, but it doesn't feel like that, according to a lot of people. We saw Colin Cowherd nationally said, hey, Steeler fans, start crying in your terrible towels because this is not a Super Bowl team. I realize there's a long way to go. Things can change. But are they a Super Bowl team from what you've seen out of 11 wins?
Well, I don't know if they're better than Kansas City, and I know what Kansas City did today and how tough it was for them. Or I know what Kansas City's been this year, excuse me, and how tough different games have been for them. I think they could be. This is the ultimate, though. The ultimate game by game. A win is a win is a win proposition for me. I mean, this season, and you guys have all covered a lot of football. I mean, we've never seen anything like it. I don't know how you can project much. I think you can separate, and I think Will can speak to this pretty well, too, being around that team every day. You can separate the good teams from the bad teams, and then there's a middle pile. I think the Steelers are among those good teams, but it is such a day-to-day proposition. You don't know what tests are going to turn up bad. You don't know how many people are going to be out. I don't know how much Will or anybody, you can project more than 2-3 days with any football team, but I do think they're among the best, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, to say they're not a Super Bowl team is kind of idiotic. I mean, I certainly think they're right in the mix there. I think Kansas City, and I think this has been the way all year, I think there's a gap between them and the rest of the league. I mean, as much as we should credit the Steelers for what they've been able to do, have they done to any team what the Chiefs did in the first 20 minutes last week against Tampa Bay, where they just went boom, 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 and the game was basically over? I know they sort of let the Bucs hang around a little bit. They haven't really done that. I mean, you know, today the Browns did exactly what the Steelers did in Tennessee, 6 weeks ago. So are the Browns now part of this conversation? I mean, they're really, really good. And Colin's absolutely right. If we get a text or a Twitter alert from the Steelers tomorrow that says, Ben Roethlisberger's tested positive for COVID and is out for 2 weeks, that changes everything. But yes, I mean, I certainly think they're in the mix. But are they the team to beat? No, they're not. The Chiefs are the team to beat, and I'm sorry, you just can't convince me otherwise.
I think the Steelers are the team to beat. I mean, they did it against Philly. They did it against the Browns. They let Philly back into the game. But look, they're 11-0. No other team is undefeated. We can't say that they're not the team to beat right now. They're the best team in the NFL, and they're winning every which way. Look, a couple years ago, and we've all covered the Steelers for how many years? I've been doing it for, 17 years? Will, you've been around for a long time. Colin, Bob, you've been here forever. So we know the Steelers play down to competition. They lose games that they shouldn't lose, and they do it twice a year at least. This year, they're winning those games when they're playing bad. That's what I like about this team. Look, they can't run the ball. We all know that, and that could be an issue right now. But, Ben, I don't know if they need to run the ball. They can just outscore teams, and they got hit with some injuries, Bud Dupree, Devin Bush. But I like this team right now. I think they're winning, and that's all. That's the most important stat,
I like
right?
them, too.
It's the most important stat.
They find a way to win. I like them, too. They're not the best team in the NFL, Rich. Just because the record says that they're undefeated, if they played the Chiefs tomorrow, I'd pick them to win probably between 38 and 45 times against the Chiefs. And
what would the line be, Colin? Colin, what do you think the line would be if the Steelers played the Chiefs? We'll say in.
It doesn't matter where.
The Chiefs by 4.5.
In Pittsburgh?
It doesn't matter where. I'd say the Chiefs would be favored by anywhere between 3 and 6 points.
All right, let me ask you something now as we move along, and that would be something that Rich brought up, which are injuries. And injuries could happen to Kansas City, by the way. There's still a lot of time left, and who knows how this is going to play out. But, Will, let's start with you on this one. Bud Dupree is now done for the season. That's a shame. He was having a really good year. Was going to cash in big. But they have a kid they really like in Alex Highsmith. They also have a lot of inexperience there. when they had that situation in Devin Bush, they went out and made a trade and brought in Avery Williamson. They're not going to do that here, but their names coming out. There's names like James Harrison and Clay Matthews. My choice would be Highsmith and let it go the way it is. And if I need somebody else, I'm not looking at James Harrison, all due respect. He's 42. What would you do there for insurance, or would you just stick with what you have?
I mean, they're going to roll with who they have. I mean, that's just – and look, Highsmith has done pretty well. But, I mean, look, he hasn't played more than, I think, 26% of their snaps in a given game. This is a whole other thing. I mean, he had the great pick against Baltimore that turned the game around. He's a smart player. I mean, Mike Tomlin this week talked about the fact that because he was a fifth-year guy, which is rare for the Steelers to go after that, there was a maturity to his game that they liked, that they felt would allow him to adapt from playing down to playing up and on the edge quickly. He's done that, but can he do it 45 snaps a game? Can he be effective enough on that side so that they don't send 7 guys to block TJ Watt? I mean, because that's what we're really talking about here. It's not, he doesn't have to be Bud, but can he be good enough to make them pay for paying so much attention to TJ? And I just think that remains to be seen. And I wanted to just to back up real quick. You know why they were so mad on Wednesday? They were mad because they know they have to play better to beat the teams they have to beat. They don't have to play good to beat the JV Ravens. They don't. They have to be good to beat the Chiefs of the world. They haven't done that yet. And I think that they know that the time to kind of put it all together is running out. I know I kind of got off track there, but I wanted to get that point in.
You did. Rich?
We went off track there, so.
Sorry, Rich.
Well, it's about linebackers.
I know. We're going back to Bud Dupree here. It's a huge loss. Look, Bud Dupree is the fastest guy on the team the first 10 yards. He causes havoc. Even if he doesn't make the play, he throws everything off. This is a huge loss. I think the Devin Bush was bigger, but I think they need to go out and maybe get someone and find a situational guy. Take a chance. Take a flyer on Clay Matthews. See if Terrell Suggs can play a couple downs here and there. Go out and see if there's something else out there. I understand Terrell Suggs is a million years old.
Rich.
Not James
You're
Harrison,
0 for 3 tonight. You're 0 for 3. You could hit third for the Pirates. You're 0 for 3. Look, first of all, Devin Bush was not a bigger loss than Bud Dupree. He wasn't. You know why? Because Spillane's actually pretty good. And I think that a lot of people are loath to admit that. He is pretty good. But right now, we've got to figure out exactly what Highsmith is made of. It's not necessarily Highsmith, and I don't know if you guys agree to this, Highsmith for this play or this series or that series. It's Highsmith in the totality of things, playing game after game after game and being the man in the NFL and going through that, and the attrition getting to him or not. And then behind him, it's Ola. Maybe they could go out and get, I don't know, first ballot Hall of Famer in the scout team, Tuzar Skipper or somebody like that. But it's going to be Highsmith. They're going to find out if Highsmith can sink or swim. I can't believe that you think that Bush was a bigger loss than
well, look what happened to the run defense. Look what happened to the rush defense after he left. He moves side to side better than everyone.
Knocked out the best running back in the league in the hole. He killed him. That's what happened to the run defense.
We had this argument 3 weeks ago, Colin. I still think Devin Bush is a bigger loss than Bud Dupree, but I think Bud Dupree is a huge loss. This is going to hurt the Steelers. No question about it.
All right, we're going to take a break on that note.
Bob
when we come back.
loves Oladani. He's a preseason superstar.
I love guys who do well in the preseason. They make my job easier. And you're right, Tuzar Skipper could be out there somewhere. No, but I think Highsmith, they're going to like what you see with Highsmith. I have that feeling about him. And it may take some time, but I think they're going to be okay there. They won't be Bud okay, but they're going to be okay. When we come back, we're going to talk about what obstacles there are in the Steelers' next 5 games. And what about Kansas City? And what about their schedule? We'll get into that a little bit. And we'll also talk about what the Steelers have to do to improve, if at all, with this run game. Do they call upon it? Do they trust it? We'll talk about it next. The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran. Go one better. And by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.